Thank you, Convener. A question for Heidi, if I may, Heidi. So, women in sport highlight that adult males have 40 to 50% greater upper strength. They have 20 to 40% greater lower limb strength, and they have 12 kilograms more skeletal muscle mass than women. And that can have implications for trans inclusion in women's sports, as sports councils and governing bodies are finding. So how would you strike the balance between inclusion, fairness and safety in women's sport? Thank you.
So I just want to highlight a couple of areas within this. So I want to be completely clear. Trans women participating and competing in sport has been presented as a threat to women's sport on the basis of some of the evidence that you're sharing today, Tess. I don't believe that there's any evidence that this is the case. Transgender athletes are not and have never been a threat to women's sport, and I don't know the direct evidence that you're sharing just there and the evidence that you're sharing in that way. However, we believe that trans women should be able to participate in sport, and there are obviously areas where you want to consider any of the evidence in terms of participation, and there might be areas where there should be restrictions on participation. However, any blanket exclusions and bans on participation of trans women in women's categories is not something that we would stand for.
May I follow up? That's actually not answering my question,
sorry.
Heidi, please. My question was, how would you strike the balance between inclusion, fairness and safety in women's sport? Thank you.
Okay, so I suppose I would disagree that that's a balance that isn't possible to do in what I've just described. In the sense that if you are using the lawful measures that are already available in terms of restricting access when necessary, then that's how you strike the balance between fairness and inclusion, that the participants of transgender people are able to participate where they would like to, and any restrictions and policies that are already in place should be followed. Then that's the access that you'd be able to do in that sense.
So it's not, my final point is not really answering the question of how you strike fairness, balance and safety, but we'll leave it there. Thank you, Convener.
Well, and my final question, if we look at participation in sport, for everyone who plays, whatever level that you play at, so it's, if I want to play squash, I want to be playing that against somebody who's sort of at my level, and I want the playing field to be level in everything that we do, because sport inherently isn't fair. There are categories in everything. So do you think, and I suppose this might not be, this might be your personal opinion, might be your Leap's opinion, but do you feel that trans athletes have an unfair advantage in participating in competition compared to biological women?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to our next theme, ethnicity and religion, and I'm going to come to